Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Tonight's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, we'll have the roll call. Mr. Holcomb.
Chairman Washington.
Here.
Vice Chairman Grout.
Here.
Commissioner Addison.
Here.
Commissioner Banks. Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Ellender.
Here.
Commissioner Latina. Commissioner Scroggs.
Here.
And Commissioner Sterling.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Director Holcomb. At this time, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 16th meeting? Moved by Commissioner Ellender, second by Commissioner Sterling. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Seeing none, those items have now been approved. At this time, I will ask Vice Chairman Cliff Grout to read in the rules for conducting public hearings.
Rules for conducting public hearings. This is a public meeting. Any interested member of the public who wishes to comment on an item from this agenda may comment in person at City Hall, 222 St. Louis Street, 3rd floor, room 348 during the meeting. Members of the public desiring to speak on a particular item should refer to a meeting agenda and complete the necessary information prior to the meeting by filling out a request to speak card indicating which item you wish to speak and place the item in the designated location prior to the meeting. Applicant and applicant's representatives for the proposal will speak first for a total or combined period of not to exceed 15 minutes. Proponents will speak and then the opponents. Each speaker will not be allowed more than 3 minutes. Speakers are required to limit their remarks by avoiding duplication in their presentations. Applicant will be allowed a total of 5 minutes for rebuttal. Opponents will not be allowed to rebut. Items placed on the consent agenda by the Planning Commission staff will not have time allocated for speaking unless there is a member of the public at the meeting who wishes to speak on the item. In such cases, the proposal will follow the standard procedure. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Grout. We can now move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Moran.
The consent agenda. There are no consent agenda items for withdrawal. The following items are on the consent agenda for deferral. Item number 6, case 5623, 662 South Foster Drive, to rezone property from light commercial C1 to commercial alcoholic beverage restaurant CAB1, located on the west side of South Foster Drive, north of Capitol Heights Avenue. Item number 9, iSpud 1-23, Goodwood Villa, to rezone property from single-family residential A1 to infill small planned unit development, iSpud, for 3 single-family residential lots located on the south side of Goodwood Boulevard, west of Colonial Drive. Item number 14, S4-23, North Park Subdivision, proposed commercial subdivision with public streets located on the east side of Airline Highway, north of Greenwell Street. Item number 15, SP923, North Park, Phase 1, proposed mixed-use development consisting of multifamily residential and commercial uses located on the east side of Airline Highway, north of Greenwell Street. And item number 16, SS10-23, Charles Hughes property, proposed residential subdivision with a private street located on the west side of Reams Road, north of Jackson Road. The following items are on the consent agenda for approval. Item number 7, case 64-23, 4041 Government Street, to rezone property from light commercial C1 to commercial alcoholic beverage restaurant CAB1, located on the north side of Government Street, east of Richland Avenue. Item number 10, MCUP 2-23, 38611, 39400 through 39600 Greenwell Springs Road, and 23100 through 23200 Lee Price Road, proposed sand and gravel mining operation located on the west side of Greenwell Springs Road, south of Lee Price Road. Item number 11, PUD 4-08, the Heights of at Matera, Woman's Hospital Final Development Plan. Proposed high-density multifamily residential development located on the west side of McCall Drive, east of Stumberg Lane. Item number 12, CS 16-23, TM Sharp Track. Proposed flag lot minor subdivision located on the north side of Florida Boulevard, west of Sam Drive. Item number 13, CS 17-23, John Andrew Jackson Tract. Proposed flag lot minor subdivision located on the south side of Pride Baywood Road, east of Hall Road. And item number 17, SP 10-23, 61 North Logistics Center. Proposed warehouse located on the west side of Tom Drive, east of North Airway Drive. Planning Commission staff certifies that all these items are consistent with the comprehensive plan and the UDC.
Commission members, you've heard all of the items that have been placed on the consent agenda that will be taken with one vote. Are there any members of this commission who have an item on consent that they would like to be pulled to be heard as part of the regular agenda? Do we have any members of the public present who would like to speak on any of the items that are on the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Addison, second by Vice Chairman Grout. Are there any objections to accepting the items that have been placed on the consent agenda? Seeing none, those items have now been approved, and we can move on to the regular agenda. Beginning with item number 2, Plan Amendment 1623, Future BR Update.
Last year, the Planning Commission staff started the process of updating Future BR for the second 5-year update. Staff began meeting with city parish agencies on progress and goals set forth in the current comprehensive plan. And over the past 5 years, staff tracked changes, development trends, and public comments. Initial updates to Future BR's elements and adjustments to the Future BR land use map and major street plan were shared with the public during the initial round of public outreach. To assist with this outreach, the Planning Commission enlisted the services of Franklin and Associates for further public engagement and workshops. A total of 9 public workshops were conducted throughout the parish. Press releases were shared to encourage people to submit comments and attend workshops. Multiple TV and radio news outlets provided coverage. The website offered an introductory video, a survey, proposed changes to Future BR, and a platform to submit comments. Changes to Future BR have been tracked and posted on the website throughout the year, and all comments received have been addressed. Major updates to Future BR in 2023 shifted the focus from expanding motor vehicle capacity to enhancing public transportation, biking, and walking infrastructure. The updates also aim to increase the availability of affordable housing, attract new businesses, generate employment opportunities in high-growth industries, and invest in renewable energy to improve efficiency and protect the environment. These changes are reflected in the 9 elements of Future BR, including land use, community design and neighborhoods, transportation, economic development, housing, environment and conservation, parks and recreation, public services, and infrastructure. Each element's narrative was updated to include new images, current conditions, statistics, and graphs. In addition to the elements, Future BR encompasses 3 maps that consist of the Future BR land use map, the major street plan, and character areas. This update includes proposed modifications to the future land use map and major street plan, such as designating East Baton Rouge school properties as institutional and Breck properties as park. Additional changes from the public comments can be found on the future land use map as well. Adjustments were also made to the Industrial and Employment Center future land uses after careful reevaluation. The major street plan was updated to include Move BR projects that were not part of the major street plan. The character area map remained the same, however, the downtown character area was revised to ensure allowance of single-family homes in the core of the city.
I would like to recognize Jeffrey Leuenberger, Planning Manager, and his staff Jasmine Thomas, Carolyn Morris, and Marie Hopkins for their hard work in coordinating the 5-year update to Future BR. This update is the subject of over a year and a half of work within the Planning Commission office. We held 9 community open house meetings across the parish gave several presentations to various groups. Over 125 people attended these meetings, 110 comments were received, and 410 survey results were submitted, bringing the total number of people who participated in the plan update to more than 500. An overwhelming majority of comments and feedback we received resulted in changes to the plan. Other changes involved eliminating duplicate, out-of-date material. In addition, staff examined every parcel of property across the parish to ensure the appropriate land use designation was placed on the future land use map. The planning department is recommending approval based on successful planning outreach and public outreach and the need to update future BR to address changing conditions, eliminate redundant and inconsistent provisions, and examination of land use pattern at a greater level of detail. We've received comments and support from the Baton Rouge North Economic Development District and from the Federation of Civic Associations.
I am Jeffrey Luberger with the Long Range Planning Manager for the Planning Commission. And in addition to thanking our Planning Commission staff, because it's been an amazing time to work with in the last year, I also wanted to thank, we have 34 lead agencies that are part of the Future BR plan. We met with each of them individually. We got their input into the plan, and they also assisted us with the outreach into the community members. And so not only have we been in contact with them throughout this entire process, we continue to be in contact with them in the years to come for updates to the plan. So I definitely want to make a shout out to all of our lead agencies that worked on the plan. In addition, I do want to also thank our IS department, because without them, all those beautiful maps that are that are in the plan would not be possible, and so they were able to get all those done in there as well. Other than that, throughout this process, we were able to get public comment. There's all of this is on the website. The final version is on the website. The three markups that came before this is on the website. So you can track all the changes that have gone before, and then the final version as well. So I encourage you, if you not have already done so, please do. And the final version was presented to you at the Special Planning Commission meeting back in August 24th. And now we are bringing it to you, to this body, to make a recommendation to the Metro Council for approval. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments from the commission? Well, I'll just comment to Mr. Leuenberger and the staff. I know that, and the director kind of spoke to this, but I know that a tremendous amount of effort went into accomplishing this, and so we sincerely thank you for all the work that you guys put in there. It's a lot of agencies and groups and stakeholders you all met with. You really, promoted feedback from the community and worked to actually incorporate that feedback, as you mentioned, into this final plan, and just being able to perform that kind of coordination and put the hours and effort that you guys did. Is a tremendous feat. So certainly congratulations and thank you again for that.
Thank you, and we have an amazing staff.
So is there a motion to approve? There's a motion from Commissioner Scroggs, second from Vice Chairman Grout. Any objections or further discourse? If not, this item is approved. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next two items may be taken together. That's item 3 and item 4.
Thank you, Director Holcomb.
PA 1523, 7300 Greenville Street, related to case 6623. Property is located on the south side of Greenville Street, west of Loring Drive, Council District 5, Hearst. The applicant is Seneca Tucson. The current future BR land use designation is park. The requested future BR land use designation is commercial. The property is currently zoned single-family residential A1, with the requested zoning to light commercial 2, LC2, for proposed congregate care facility, religious institution, and retail sales. PA 1523, 7300 Greenville Street, related to case 6623.
Staff recommends approval of the plan amendment based upon examination of the area at a further level of detail and a change in conditions since adoption of the plan. Staff also certifies that the proposed rezoning request meets the criteria for a change of zoning if the companion comprehensive plan amendment is approved, being compatible with surrounding uses and conforming to Unified Development Code requirements.
The Planning Commission office has received one message in opposition to these two items.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing and invite the applicant to speak for a period not to exceed 15 minutes. Good evening. Could you make sure the mic is on, sir?
It's at the bottom of the base.
Little button at the base of the microphone. Yes, sir. Make sure that green light comes on.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Seneca Tucson. I'm with Lataire Engineering, and located here in Baton Rouge. And we submitted the application on behalf of our client, We Economic Development, Bishop Willard Nixon. And our request is currently the property is undeveloped, and our client's proposing a mixed use consisting of a commercial building with a medical clinic, excuse me, and a community center, including basketball court and parking eventually at the site. And so we request, we'd like to request from residential to, is it C2? Sorry, the LC2 for the, to allow us to redevelop that property for that use. That's all. Any questions?
Thank you. We have two more speaker cards that are in favor but do not wish to speak. Those are for Roman Hundley and Elmore Lewis. We have one card that is in opposition that I'll invite to the podium at this time for Rachel Miller. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
I'm sorry?
You have the floor for 3 minutes. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Rachel Miller. I've been a member of the community for 3 years now. I live directly across from there. And personally, I just want to ask you all, would you want commercial property right across from your home? Seems like an eyesore to me. Right within walking distance, we already have 4 liquor stores, 1 gas station. We have 2 barbershops, and day in and day out, there's just men loitering all day. So yes, I am concerned for me and my family's safety at this point. He mentioned a basketball court. However, I did call in to ask previously what exactly was being built. The statement said either a church or some commercial leasing. I'm not in favor. If you can't tell me exactly what's being built there, I just wanted to come out today and state my opinion. And I know there's others in opposition for me. I did try to reach out to the community. However, I'm the only one standing before you here today. But I just wanted to make my opinions known, make you all aware today. It is a nice community. It's coming up. Honestly, I feel that if it was in another area, probably on the other side of Florida and Airline, I don't think this would even be a debate whether or not to put leasing into a prominent residential area. I mean, if you want to help the community, build some more homes across the street, build a senior living home. Just 10 minutes, if you cross Airline, you'll go onto Hollywood Street. They just recently made a graveyard site, and they also made a senior living area. I feel that commercial property will just bring in more unwanted attention. It may increase death rates. We have cops that monitor the area all day long. I just don't see any good coming out of it. If you want to support and help our community, then help us continue to build up our homes. Since I've been there, my property value has gone up by $30K, and I would like for it to continue to do so. We don't need another nail shop. We don't need another hair store. We don't need another liquor store. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'll invite the applicant back for a 5-minute rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. As of now, the whole process, we've got to get rezoned before we really have a concrete plan, our clients, but we're not you know, there's a one parcel, it'll be a church, but this particular parcel, you know, it's a mixed use, so we're talking medical clinic, and I'm sorry, I'm a little behind here, but we really think it's more of a redevelopment, positive development, not the types of uses that was mentioned. You know, we really see this as an economic growth opportunity for the community. And okay, did you get signed in? I'm sorry, I got a client's representative here too. Is it too late to sign a card?
You can sign afterwards.
Okay.
You can go ahead and use your time.
So yeah, my name is Eric Lewis. I'm a member of the church that owns the property, and it's a nonprofit that is going to be developing it. So a portion of half the land is going to be for a church, and the other part that's mixed use development is more medical facilities. And so at this plan, there's no plans for any type of retail establishment, and so everything that we're looking at developing on the property is for medical use, for medical services and office space.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, I will close the public hearing. And before inviting any questions or comments from the commission, I'll ask Director Holcomb. These two items are located in the district for Councilman Hurst, correct?
That's correct, Chairman.
Has Councilman Hurst made his thoughts known on these items?
He hasn't publicly taken a position on this item. This would require a public hearing before council zoning. This body is simply making a recommendation onto council zoning. I did speak to him personally and brief him on this item. He was aware of it. It did not express any objections at this point in the process.
Okay. Thank you, Director Holcomb. Questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Addison looks like he's itching.
I just want to move for approval.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor from Commissioner Addison to approve this item, second from Commissioner Sterling. Any objections or further discussion? Seeing none, these two items have been approved. At this time, we'll move on to item number 5, Text Amendment 423, Chapter 9, Use Regulations.
Thank you. This is a request. We initiated this text amendment on previous months. This is moving forward with a text amendment to Chapter 9 Use Regulations, specifically Section Table 9.A and Section 9.42 to create conditions for commercial recreation uses and outdoor uses. Planning Commission staff certifies that the proposed UDC amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan. This text amendment modifies outdoor commercial recreation uses from being allowed by right, as they currently are in rural zoning, to be allowed with a conditional use permit moving forward. It adds conditional regulations for outdoor commercial recreation facilities in rural zoning, rural residential estate agriculture 1 zoning, and rural residential estate agriculture 3 zoning districts. It requires the use not to be located on a recognized residential subdivision, so it would be prohibited there. It also adds restrictions that it be located on property with a minimum area of at least 2 acres, and also limits total square footage of indoor accessory buildings to 2,500 square feet in total space moving forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Holcomb. And we have no comment cards for this item. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right. With that being said, commission members, are there any questions, comments for this item? If not, are there any motions? Vice Chairman Grout.
I move for approval.
There's a motion on the floor from Vice Chairman Grout to approve this item. That motion receives a second from Commissioner Addison. Are there any objections or any further discussion? Seeing none, that item is approved. We'll move on to item number 8, case 6523-10255, Malali Drive.
Case 6523, 10255 Molly Lee Drive. Property is located on the north side of Molly Lee Drive west of Sharp Road, Council District 6, Dunn Jr. The applicant is Ian Richardson. The future BR land use designation is residential neighborhood. The existing zoning is single-family residential A1 with the requested zoning of neighborhood commercial NC for a proposed plant nursery. Case 6523, 10255 Molly Lee Drive.
Staff cannot certify that the proposed request meets the criteria for change of zoning. The request has inconsistencies with the comprehensive plan and is incompatible with the existing character or usage of the neighborhood.
The Planning Commission office has received 54 messages in opposition to this item.
Commission members, at this time, I will open the public hearing and invite the applicant to speak for a period not to exceed 15 minutes. Good evening.
Good evening, Commission, and good evening, members of the Broadmoor community. Actually have a decent amount to talk about here, so bear with me. So my name's Ian Richardson, and my wife and I are the owners of Beaver's Abundance Native Plant Nursery. A little bit about us: we're a small, licensed, boutique-style plant nursery. We currently operate out of our backyard in the Old Goodwood neighborhood. We specialize in Louisiana-sourced native plants and educating the public about their benefits. Over the last 2 years, we've grown organically with a lot of support from our local community and the neighbors, some of which do currently live in the Broadmoor neighborhood. Around 6 months ago, we started our journey to find the perfect property to expand. While staying centered within the community, we believe that we found the perfect property, and that's located at the Molly Lee Drive location. We're excited for the opportunity to develop our small nursery at the proposed location, all while helping enhance the Broadmoor neighborhood and bringing residents together from different portions of the larger neighborhood community. However, we believe and understand not all residential lots should be permissible to be rezoned, but this lot is very unique. Sorry, I lost my place. In reading the future BR proposals under future land use, it says neighborhood residential properties located on main roads at intersections have some allowance for neighborhood scale commercial business. We have found no other lots in the Broadmoor area which have these characteristics, thereby actually limiting the available properties to rezone in the future. Additionally, the lot as it currently stands is vacant, and the current seller has had trouble finding a residential buyer due to the location limitations. We believe that this small development will help improve Broadmoor, making it a place where new residents are attracted to live. We will be using minimally invasive construction techniques, repurposing the existing slab, and preserving the beautiful live oaks which loom over the lot. We will also be cleaning up the property and making it more attractive and safer, thereby deterring any criminal or mischievous behaviors which have concerned some of the neighbors. In talking with the neighbors, we understand they are excited about a potential nursery, but they do have some concerns about what may happen to the property were the business not to succeed. Although we are confident in our nursery success, we have explored various options, including a CUP, which we talked about with some members of the commission yesterday and this morning, or an ISPUD, but ultimately we believe working with the current HOA and proposing an agreement to alter the deed restrictions would be best for the entire neighborhood moving forward. Working with the HOA, we could restrict the allowable neighborhood commercial businesses which wouldn't align with the best interests of the neighborhood. These neighborhood restrictions would trump any rezoning attempts in the future. So overall, we believe this small retail nursery location will help create a stronger community identity and improve the quality of life in the neighborhood for many years to come. and we welcome feedback from the community at this point.
Thank you. We have one additional speaker card from, I believe it's Fabiola Campo Blanco. Who does not wish to speak? We'll move on to the opposition. Our first card is for Terry Lawrence. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. I'm Terry Lawrence. I've been a resident of Broadmoor since 2009. So I'm from way outside the state of Louisiana, but we moved here and we really like where we're at. One of the reasons we bought in Broadmoor was the nature of the A1 zoning and the limited, on the periphery of Broadmoor, any type of commercial things. I know that changing that one lot is, well, it's just one little lot. But then once the dominoes have been stood up and the first one falls down, when does the next one go, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one? Because in future, how do you stop this ball from rolling? I'm not sure you can, because there's a lot of other properties on Sharp Road that are within Broadmoor. So I am opposed to the changing of the zoning from A1. I feel the owner of the property can actually build a home there and have that thing sold without a problem. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next card is for Deborah Semino.
Hi, I'm Deborah Semino. I'm president of Sherwood Forest HOA, and I am also a board member for the Federation of Greater Baton Rouge Civic Associations. I noticed, first of all, I am against this. Item number 2, you just approved Future Baton Rouge Plan, Future BR. And when I look at Future BR, this particular piece of property is zoned A1, as well as everything else around it. And so, I mean, Mr. Moran just told us they spent a year and a half perfecting this plan, and it is good, and it protects our neighborhoods. So one of the things, if we rezone this, first of all, it is inconsistent with Future BR. Secondly, it seems that, we have a shortage of A1 properties in Baton Rouge. Otherwise, we would not be building so many new subdivisions. So now it seems terrible to take an A1, rezone it to commercial. So that's one problem. The second thing is there is no buffer. If we rezone this, the person next to them, across the street, everywhere else, there's no buffer between the commercial property and residential property. Speaking of commercial, we have so many empty commercial spaces on Florida Boulevard that we are trying so hard to revitalize. This is perfect, but it is very inconsistent to have commercial of any type in our neighborhood. And what kind of commercial could we have? Well, you are the Planning and Zoning Commission. You know that there are just a ton of different commercial ventures that could go in there. But the two that most likely would take place and could, even if this is rezoned and they say they're going to have a plant nursery, which I feel they will, if and when this goes belly up, which 75% of new businesses do, I think that this will become a convenience store. Well, that is not what Broadmoor or Sherwood needs, or an equipment repair. And imagine if you bought the house next to them years and years and years ago, and now you've got equipment repair right next to you. Why is Sherwood involved? It's right across the street from us. I think that it also sets a new precedence of let's allow commercial within residential. You have not done that thus far, and I would say please continue to prohibit that. Lastly, that's kind of a dangerous curve or road. When you're coming from Florida, there's that curve. People have gained speed, And we have had many car wrecks there. And what they do when somebody is starting to turn, they come around that curve, they see them stopped at that red light, and they turn to the left. We've had 2 of our entrance signs taken out.
I'm sorry,
and
ma'am,
are
your
no
time is
longer.
up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks. Thank
you.
y'all for your time.
Thank you. Our next card is for Glenda Foster.
Linda Foster, Brocade Drive. I also live in Broadmoor. I would like to reiterate what she has presented. Broadmoor is a residential A1 subdivision. It's not industrial, it's not commercial, it is a household subdivision. To put something other than a home on this property makes absolutely no sense. And I had more that I was going to say, but ultimately, if the current owner of the property wants an idea to do with this property, they can either sell it cheap or donate it to the church across the street, and they can make a little prayer garden, and I'll buy the first bench. Or somebody can build a house. I'm a realtor, and as she said, and Terry said, we need houses all over East Baton Rouge Parish. But thank y'all, and honestly, I don't see how this ever made it to an agenda to be rezoned from A1 to NC. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next card is for Gary Littlefield. Good evening.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. My name is Gary Littlefield. I live in 1165 Melanie Street in Broadmoor Subdivision. I've lived there since 1986, and I've served on the Broadmoor Residents Association since 1987, so you can tell I have a vested interest in maintaining the A1 zoning. Really no other comments. I think everybody's covered everything that we need to, but I am vehemently opposed to anything we talk about as far as changing our A1 zoning in that neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next card is for Trent Anderson.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Trent Anderson, and I'm a concerned resident of the area directly impacted by the proposed rezoning at property of Molly Lee, Lot 69, from A1 to neighborhood commercial. I've been a resident there for 29 years, which may be surprising being I'm only 33. And so I've lived in this area my whole life, and I want this to stay a nice neighborhood. And now that this is my home, it has become very important to me. I wish to expect my opposition to the permanent rezoning request. Such change would not only alter the current property status, but also set a concerning precedent for the surrounding area. While I recognize the value of Mr. Richardson's proposed plant nursery, I'm not opposed to his business. My support is contingent on a conditional use permit specific to his business rather than a broad rezoning of neighborhood commercial. And my concern is with the surrounding areas, like the past people have spoke, is the domino effect. And that would just set a whole, next thing you know, right across the street from me, a convenience store, a nail salon, anything like that is what our neighborhood does not need. But a conditional use permit would allow the commission to approve Mr. Richardson's nursery without permanently opening the door to commercial development. It is a safeguard ensuring that our future in our neighborhood remains deliberate and controlled. I urge the Planning Commission to consider the broader implications of rezoning and to opt for a conditional use permit focused on the measures supports Mr. Richardson's venture without compromising the residential nature of our neighborhood or setting a potentially harmful precedent. And to what Mr. Richardson talked about the uniqueness of this lot, it being on both sides of Molly Lee and Sharp, it makes the lot, even though it's a 0.6 acre, it is very small to be able to build another house there. You would lose a ton of your front yard would be dedicated, you would have a very small backyard, and so I do feel like something like a nursery or something else there would be a good fit. Prior to this house being burned down and everything, there was a home there that was on the market for probably 3 years. And that house could not sell, and there was criminal activity, there was break-ins, there's different things that we all heard that went down there, inevitably was burnt to the ground. And so now it's an eyesore. So I do feel like there is a good use for it, but not as this stands would I back a rezoning. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. Our last card is for Philip Fetterman.
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to thank those who have provided comments, and also want to thank the Planning Department for their analysis of this property. I have lived in Sherwood Forest since 1987, off and on. And my concern on this property is that if you approve something like this, you open a door, a Pandora's box, that other people can make similar requests like this. And when you make similar requests like that, it establishes a precedence. It becomes very difficult to close that door. When people purchase the property there, they have an expectation that the Planning Commission is going to maintain the A1 atmosphere that exists in that area there. So the idea is that they purchase their home, they have an expectation that you're going to maintain that character for them. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite the applicant back for a 5-minute rebuttal. I'm sorry, we have several more speaker cords. You can stay there. Several more speaker cords that do not wish to speak. I'll just read those names in for the record. Marina Anderson, Denise Gotro, James Gray, Jackie Gray, Teresa Harrelson, Karen Wetzel, Trudy Solomon, Marcel DeSoto, Thomas Balhoff, Kathy Landry, and Catherine Morris. You may proceed with your rebuttal, sir.
Right, so it sounds like a lot of the issues with the property is it becoming possibly unsafe, an area that there should be a house located at, and what's to become of it down the road. But I think we need to kind of take account of currently what this lot is and what it's been, and nobody else has stepped up to do anything with this lot. The current owner bought this property in a foreclosure and has no future to build anything there. He's actually had the property for just about a year now on the market and hasn't had any residential activity. So they're talking about the need for A2 lots and residences. Well, here's one that nobody seems to want to live at. And the problem is that the property, from talking to the neighbor, the only neighbor directly next to the property, Mr. Glover, who unfortunately isn't here today, but is praying for us that this property will be rezoned because he's sick of vagrants camping out on the property, performing, mischievous activities on the property. He's the one right next to it. And all we have is good intentions for this property to make the neighborhood a great place to live in. I mean, I wish I had a lot like this in my neighborhood to where our neighborhood could have its own plant nursery. Very low scale, low key plant nursery. We're not trying to do a whole lot to it. It's got a slab. We want to build on top of the slab. It's got beautiful live oaks, pecan trees. Like, we don't want to touch any of that. We want to make it like a garden. We want to build, gardens that showcase how beautiful native plants can be. You can always be scared about progress, but what we're trying to do, I think, is going to actually bring the community together like it has in Old Goodwood. Old Goodwood has had no issues with what we've done, and it's brought a lot of people from 84 years old to 14-year-olds together, shopping for plants, talking about gardening. So, I would be opposed to a repair shop, but this is a plant nursery. This is beautifying the space.
Thank you. At this time, I'll close the public hearing, and before inviting any questions or comments from the commission, I was curious about whether or not, actually, Ms. Semino, you are Sherwood Forest Citizens Association and Federation. Would you mind stepping back to the podium? I know there have been instances where we've deliberated about similar items, and I believe the applicant mentioned talking about deed restrictions and things of that nature. Have you guys had any discussions about that? Is that something that you guys would be open to discussing in the slightest?
So I will say that, first of all, I am the only Semino in the state of Louisiana. When people want to find me, they can find me. My number is published, and I've had no calls at all. And once again, Sherwood Forest is directly across the street. So I think that he could have, or somebody could have reached out to us. As far as deed restrictions go, unless you have a ton of money, which no HOA has, when somebody violates a deed restriction, usually you only have the option of going to court with them. It's a lot of money. Most HOAs do not have that ability. And so I would kind of say, yes, you can put deed restrictions in. Are they going to be enforced? Probably not, because the money's just not there. But my thought is, there aren't any deed restrictions you could put in that we would feel comfortable with, strictly because it will be a domino effect. Right there on Molly Lee, within 1,000 yards, we've got 3 pieces of property that would love to get rezoned. And so if you go in and rezone this commercial, you will have 3 people knocking on your door saying, hey, can we rezone commercial too?
Okay.
So that's my thought, is there's nothing that you can put in deed restrictions that would make us feel comfortable.
Understood. Thank you. Commission members. Vice Chairman Gropp.
Mr. Director, the applicant raised the potential of a cup. Is that a potential?
Mr. Vice Chairman, no, that's not an option. We don't have a conditional use permit option for the applicant. The only way to assure that this property remains a plant nursery would be through a planned unit development, an ISPUD, an infill planned unit development.
And if we simply rezone, I know he's very earnest about keeping this a nursery, but we know, we have to be pragmatic here. We are rezoning for all of the potential uses. So if he gets a nursery and he can't come to an agreement with the owner now has a piece of property that's worth a whole lot more, because it could be a gas station or a drive-through bank or a massage parlor or a liquor store. Is that correct?
It would allow retail sales and some commercial developments with some minor restrictions on it, but it would allow some of those uses.
Can the applicant come back up, please? You mentioned something that I'm assuming you're talking to a design professional already, but you realize this is in a flood zone, correct?
Yes, correct. We're currently getting the elevation, so we can figure out exactly, where we need to come up to. I know we have to be 1 foot above the base flood elevation.
You have to be 1 foot above BFE.
And that proposes another issue with this property, that it is in a floodplain.
I understand, but the thing is you've said several times you want to reuse the existing slab.
If we need to that's why I'm trying to figure out where we're at. If I need to raise the slab up, the thing is, most of the slab is going to be where the plants are for sale. It's not going to be in an enclosed structure. But where we have bathrooms and an enclosed area for checkouts and things like that, that will have to be raised if it is not 1 foot above the base flood
I
elevation.
mean, you've put a great deal of time and effort into this, and you're not even at the beginning stage as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, you talked about, you know, coming together with the neighborhood. You've had a whole lot of time to come together with the neighborhood, and I know for a fact you haven't reached out to this neighborhood.
Yes, sir, I have.
Who have you reached out to?
I reached out to Mr. Littlefield, and I asked him if I could speak at an HOA meeting. He said he would speak to the other HOA members for me, and if there were any issues, he would come back to me with those issues. I told him they can call me directly. I would love to talk to anybody with any problems. I reached out to the church across the street. I reached out to Mr. Glover next door, like I said, who's praying for me. The place behind me is a hair salon. The place on the other side of Sharp is a vacant lot that's for sale. It's 12 acres.
I understand that. And I'm one of the people on this commission who has voted for more intense use in between residential and high intense use. Okay?
Yes, sir.
But the problem is that more intense use, you have the high intense use on Florida, that more intense use is already there behind you. You have a more compact residential neighborhood behind you. It buffers the A1. At some point, we have to say no, because these people are right. You set this, there is precedent, and I can tell you there are at least 2 other places on Molly Lee that want to go commercial. We set this as a precedent. We're going to have a fight on our hands. Now, that's not your problem. But what is your problem is this is a lot too far. I'm sorry, and I am going to have to, when the time comes, I will vote to deny this. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Go right ahead.
A lot of people are like, this is going to open the floodgates and all this stuff, but the way it's written for residential neighborhood properties, the only way this is possible is on a corner lot on a main
I
street.
am well aware of that.
And so if you go around the neighborhood,
we got 2 other corners, and we've got other properties that are not on corners or on corners elsewhere. And I have a very hard time bringing commercial this deep into Broadmoor. Now, full disclosure.
Neighborhood commercial.
Pardon?
Neighborhood commercial.
It doesn't matter. It's commercial. Okay? I can put a gas station there, a neighborhood gas station with 4 pumps.
But it's such a small lot.
It doesn't matter. Those kind of things can be allowed.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you can argue the point, but I cannot see bringing this into the neighborhood. We already have a buffer between this and Florida Boulevard. And, you know, I'm one of the ones who got a lot of heat for bringing for voting for a more compact residential neighborhood in between, basically a CVS and A1. I thought it was appropriate. A lot of people didn't. Still think I'm right. But I have a very hard time, and full disclosure, I live on the other side of Goodwood in Broadmoor, okay? So I know a lot of these people. And some of them are good friends. Some of them probably want to kill me occasionally. But this is just a lot too far. If you were up more north, if you were up closer to Florida, I wouldn't have a problem with this. Just this is too far into the neighborhood. So again, that's the reason I'm going to oppose. Thank you.
Other comments from the commission? Commissioner Addison.
Thank you much, Mr. Chairman. Lot number 68, I think that's the lot that's directly behind your proposed lot.
I know we're
Is that the
lot
Glover's
number
lot?
69, so it might be.
Okay, I'm looking at the map, so it's kind of a little blurred because of the flood elevation dilution. But that's 68. Am I correct, Mr. Director? Directly behind his
That's correct.
proposed lot is 68, which is I assume that's you keep saying the owner directly behind that lot, which is probably the most effective, is Mr. Glover's property. Is that what you're saying? Is it?
If you're looking at the property on Molly Lee, he's to the left. It's a residential home.
Okay. There is a very large tract, and I don't know if I should ask the people in the subdivision homeowners association. Cashel Avenue, there's a lot right next to that, and then there's a very large tract of commercial property right next to that on that. I'm not asking you, I'm just wanting to, when I pose a question, I'm gonna pose it to one of the residents or homeowners associations, because they would be responsible for the entire area, not just one block. Which, when people say that they're not used to, in fact, I have no comments for you. I have no questions at all. You can have a seat, please.
Thank you, sir.
When they say there's no commercial in the area, I'm looking at a very large tract of commercial in the area. And we say we're going to open the floodgates. I'm always concerned when they say that, when we make those statements, because just one block away is a very large tract of commercial. And I just wanted to know, the homeowners association, do you represent that area of the community? Because it is seeming to be in Broadmoor. It could be across the street, Sherwood. I don't know which of the two associations or neighborhoods represent that particular part of this corridor. It's the lot just 2 blocks, it's 1 block away. It's
Commissioner
actually-
Addison?
Okay.
Since I live in the neighborhood, I can speak to that.
Oh, please do.
The area north of this lot, it is zoned commercial. It is almost all compact residential in use. The lot that is the large lot, C1, I believe there is 1 building on that. Then there is a law office above that. And then there's some other apartments in the area that's UND, in between Jones Creek and Florida Boulevard. Or between north of that, in between the C1 and Jones Creek.
Okay, there's a tract where there seems to be A1 residential right there next to Cashel Avenue, which is also large.
Cashel Avenue.
I
That
missed
A1 backs into Cashel, and Cashel is actually those are small those are not small. Those are townhome residences.
They're not, the A1 is what I'm asking the question of.
No, they're not
asking
A1.
the size of them.
No. Everything north of
is
that buffer zone
excuse me,
A1.
hold on a second.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at it as well. Yes.
The property north of this in question is Zone C1, light commercial.
Light commercial, yes. And the properties behind that, what are they zoned at this point? There's the properties immediately behind that C1 zoning. If you're looking at the map.
When you say behind,
I'm talking about directly behind the C1, not on Sharp, because this is also off of the main highway, which is lot 69.
yeah, all of that is zoned light commercial, C1. Yeah, everything north of Cashel Avenue is zoned light commercial.
Light commercial, okay. So again, but I am concerned about it being so close to a residential neighborhood, because there should be some kind of a buffer. But I did want to kind of look at that in the total context of this entire block. And there is like I said, there's a very large, because I'm looking at the map, a very large tract that's right adjacent to that. And I wanted to understand how that impacts the residents behind that large tract of A1 as well. And lot 68 that he mentioned with Mr. Glover, Mr. Glover's property would be the most, what I call the most effective property in that corridor. I mean, because I'm looking at the map as well. Mr. Glover is not here to speak on his own behalf of his property. But that would seem to be, based on the corridor itself, Molly Lee's on one side of him and Cashier Avenue is on the other side of him. And then, of course, it's on the frontage of Sharp Road. And so again, this track is where it sets between those two parcels of right-of-ways. But Mr. Glover's property, being 68, would seem to be the greatest impacted A1 zoning property. And given that there's one lot on Sharp next to the C1 property right there. Now again, that's a large tract. Across the street, there's a large A1 property. But again, I think without having some other protections of that neighborhood, I too would not be able to support it in this context. But I do agree that when properties are left undeveloped, it creates other neighborhood challenges for you. Now I know residents talk about it and whether or not it is going to come to that in the future, but when usually the owners can't sell it or they buy it through sheriff sales and all that, it leaves the neighborhood to deal with that potential investor deciding to sell it any way he can get money for it. And if you think it challenges that now, your challenge will be just as great in the future when he decides to try to dump it somewhere and give it to the first person who could buy it. And then you don't have those caveats. While you might think this might be a bad idea based on the fact that he's willing to restrict it, but not having the legal rights to do so, I think this is a type of service that can go a long way to improving and protecting the community for what he wants to put there. The only drawback very well is that it don't give you the protections for the future. It'll leave it to somebody else in the future if he does not succeed to do that. But when often residents come up and say what the challenges are, and you look at the maps, they tell you that. They tell you to see one right in that neighborhood. And it's been there. And I can give you the maps and see it, and we can look at it. While we may oppose this particular use of the property, the fact of the matter is it's already there. And if he's willing to make the kind of restrictions to try to help improve it, because he may not be there next year, he may not be there, in fact, if it's on pass, he may not be there next week. But the property is still going to be vacant. And it's going to still loan itself to certain kind of conditions and the growth of those conditions if it's not done something with it. And that's not a challenge just for him. It generally happens that way by way of people leaving properties unattended or people leaving properties undeveloped. But again, I too join Mr. Grout in the fact that I think this is not the right fit for it, given that we can't put the restrictions. If you would come back with an iSpud and give a directive of how you do it and what you want to do there, I probably can support that, because I think, again, it's something that we'll have to look at on a case-by-case basis. I don't think your cup works. As I heard someone say, you might can do that. I don't know if that's going to work for you. And I don't think the deed restriction proposition is going to fare well for you nor the community, because the deed restriction is probably unenforceable on our part, and it's very difficult for the community to try to go and do it without having the resources. So I do agree with the homeowner's president saying that that is not something they would want to do, and the fact that it leaves them with a financial challenge to go into court to try to force someone in deed restriction. So for that reason, I too won't be able to support it in its current position, but I do empathize with your situation. Thank you much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Addison. Additional comments or questions from the commission?
Make a motion to deny.
There's a motion on the floor from Vice Chairman Grout to deny this item, second by Commissioner Boyd. Any additional, any objections? Any additional discussion? Seeing none, that item is denied. At this time, we'll move on to item number 18, initiation of text amendment.
Planning Commission staff is asking to initiate a text amendment to revise Chapter 17, Parking and Loading Design Standards for Parking Areas. This issue was brought to me by the building official and the Director of Transportation and Development. I'm asking for a approval to initiate this so that we can study this issue at a greater level of detail.
And if there are no speaker cords for this item, Vice Chairman Grout?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Oh, sure. If there are no questions or comments, are there any motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Vice Chairman Grout, second by Commissioner Scroggs. Are there any objections or further discussion? Seeing none, that item is approved, and we will move on to communications, beginning with director's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next, just a reminder, your next regular scheduled Planning Commission meeting is December 11th. And I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Todd Sterling, Evan Scroggs, Jamie Ellender, and Vincent Latino, who's not here tonight. All share a birthday in November. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to those commissioners. And the one that left, and the one that's not here.
They all sit over here.
All on the same side. It's really something.
November birthday.
Happy birthday, gentlemen. At this time, we'll move on to commissioners' comments. And at this time, I'd like to bring attention to our latest employee of the month, Annette Chambliss, Executive Assistant. Annette works to support administration while also functioning as the quote-unquote business manager for the office. She handles the fiscal responsibilities of the Planning Commission, including payroll and purchasing. Annette gives frequent updates to staff regarding city parish procedures to make sure planning staff stay current as things change. Her attention to detail is very important when dealing with these internal policies. She is also the lead staff member who annually updates the Office of the Planning Commission's Employee Handbook. For her efforts to keep all staff on track, congratulations, Annette. Are there any additional comments from commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Addison, second by Vice Chairman Grout. Any objections? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Good evening, everyone.
One day I want to go.
Well, it already was. There's just